Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast. The 2024-25 season is finished and the Milton Keynes Lightning end the season playoff champions. Charlie is hiding down there at the bottom of the screen. But congratulations to the MK Lightning, Tim Wallace and the rest of the team. We'll come to you first, Charlie. I know we've got our banter with them and stuff like that, but they were deserving winners come the end of it. Those were two of the best games we've seen them play all season.
They did it. They turned up on the big stage. Damn it. Oh, I know how many MK fans are tuned in, and fair play. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the celebrations. It's like a dream thing for a team and their fan base to go on
Oh,
to win the playoffs, and I can happily hold my hands up and say they deserve to win it. They were the better team in both games. And that's two of the best games I've seen MK play in since they've come back down to the National League. They were phenomenal against Leeds. That was the best game I've watched at Coventry ever. And then yeah, they got the final done. And credit where credit's due. Tim Wallace, phenomenal weekends, and Headley, and so many more, which I'm sure we'll go into.
yeah,
But
we'll go into it.
congratulations to all my MK lovers. You won the playoffs.
And yeah, they finished the season strong. And they finally get that big trophy, which they've been wanting the last few seasons, ever since they joined back to the National League. And we've actually got a really special interview, which me and Charlie are doing tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, with their captain James Griffin, who said he'd try and hop on. So hopefully that will be edited in here for Wednesday night, which we'll post the podcast. And we'll cut to that in a little bit because we've got some other news which we'll get onto very shortly. But yeah, an interview with James Griffin, who's also got his testimonial this weekend as well. So if you are a Milton Keynes fan, I think they've got some merch as well. But James will probably go into detail a bit more about that. His 10 years with the Lightning, 10 years with the Lightning. He is definitely worthy of that playoff title with them. He had a really good weekend as well. Right, big news as well. We will get back to reviewing the whole of Cov. We're going to do that straight after the James Griffin interview, but there is some also big news because the man sat next to me on the camera, Mr. Dan Connors, your team is back. The Basingstoke Bison are going to be back for next season. Were you shocked for that? Because I remember on previous episodes you've said it might be a couple of years.
Oh yeah, I was definitely shocked. I was definitely shocked that we'll be back in the National League. I always said if we do come back, it'll be into the National One, and then we'll have to work our way back up again. Um, but like I've said to everyone, obviously at Coventry, I said if I wanted anyone to be taking over this job and having this task of bringing Basingstoke back, I would want it to be Steve now. I know there's been a bit of backlash from it, which is going to happen. I get it. But at the end of the day, if it's the case of it's the only option that the team had to get back into the National League, they're going to bite anyone's hand off at it.
Yeah.
And I have full faith in Steve now that he's going to do a professional job, and just do everything as a business. He's a business owner, obviously. He's going to do it professionally. He's not going to do anything behind the back or anything like that. So yeah, at the end of the day, it makes the league a better place, and I'm just so glad to have my team back.
Yeah, it's going to be different next season. Obviously, you watched all the Wildcats games pretty much with us last season at home. I know Charlie's going to miss you. I'm going to miss you as well, but Charlie especially at the games. But if we just go into the details of it, and I'll get to you, Charlie. The Planet Ice National Division delighted to confirm the return of the Bison for the next season. Following 2 seasons not in the league, Steve Nell and Rob Furman, who also he's the owner of Bespoke, they're going to be owning the Basingstoke Bison. And I echo what you said, Dan. You know, you've got some stability within the club now. I know there's stuff online, fans making jokes and stuff, but at the end of the day, Steve now is a very, very good owner, and without him, there wouldn't be a national league. Let's call a spade a spade. He's done so well with the Leeds Knights and bringing them up, and just look at the success they've had, and the Wildcats as well, managing to get the team through the flood. And Charlie, I think Basingstoke can have some comfort knowing they've got a solid owner taking over them.
Yeah, 100%. I see the questions around it.
Yeah, I
We're
understand.
not blind. I get it. But sadly, it's a semi-professional league where clubs struggle, and as we've seen with Basingstoke, clubs go. Hull, clubs go. Manchester Phoenix, clubs go, and it's nice to have owners which keep clubs in the league, and the Nows are definitely kind of them sort of owners. And to be honest, I'm just happy for Dan. I know how much he's missed supporting a team, how much he's missed actually being a part and celebrating goals. Like we'll score a massive goal, I'll be going mental, and Dan will be stood there smiling, but being like, "I wish I could celebrate. I wish I could have my team back." And he's got it, and I'm really happy for him. So yeah, I'm mainly happy just because I know Dan's happy, and I know he's going to enjoy it, and we've had so much fun with him this season for sure.
Well, it's not just Dan. Dan, there is so many Bison fans out there who have been scattered around watching some ice hockey here and there, a bit like what you've done. But I think Basingstoke, for me, it was our first ever away game we went to. It's probably the rink we've been to the most, other than the Link Centre. We were gutted when, obviously, Basingstoke did have to shut down for a bit, but Basingstoke's one of them where they're a bit like Swindon. They've got that old loyal fan base who's been around for so long. And I have no doubt that Steve and the whole club will be able to hopefully get all those fans back and be able to grow as well within the community, because Basingstoke Bison was bigger than the football club there as well. That was the biggest sport in Basingstoke.
Yeah, that's it. And the one thing that obviously that I will say is the fans will definitely be back, and they'll definitely be able to support anything that they can do. The thing with Basingstoke fans is they'll do anything for their club. Just coming down to volunteers, like just anything. Like in the last few years of Basingstoke, obviously under like Tate and stuff like that, obviously we were really struggling. Like we were there. I'm surprised we actually carried on for as long as we did. To be fair, but it was just the amount of help that everyone put in. It just sort of got us over the line, and yeah, 100%. The fans will be so happy to see sort of the new ownership come in, and they'll be excited that they can sort of have rewards for what they put in the last few seasons of obviously the Tate days.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing the rink. Obviously, it's getting refurbished. Hopefully, it'll be back for the season. We'll have to see. The a new team, Dan. You're going to be signing fresh players. We might see some players come back. We don't know. A new coach, maybe. That's the fun of having this rebuild. To see what's around the corner. You just don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of fans are happy to have Basingstoke back. And yeah, interesting for the league as well. I think this is going to be one of the busiest off seasons with signings, with announcements. Obviously, that brings us on to the next point. So the other news was that there's four imports next season, and that got announced on the Cov weekend. So there was all the news being announced. And Charlie, we've said that we want to try and get back to that EPL days. I don't think we can ever get back to those type of days, but I think the next step was to go in that four imports. And I know there's mixed reactions on it, and we can look at both sides of it, which we will. I'll come to you in a sec, Dan. But what was your reaction when you first saw the four imports?
Yeah, I'm happy. It's definitely the right move. It's difficult. It's a tough league, you know. I think that you can tell by fan bases. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs. But budgets are very different in the league. But there's with a new club, especially, there's definitely not loads of Brits around and available. And having an extra import gives you that extra top player you can have in your roster, and I think it's a good thing all round, and as long as every club can kind of afford a decent import in that slot, I think it's great, and I think it means more teams will go for import Ds. There will potentially be more import goalies, and I understand that will be a controversial point, but altogether, I'm pretty happy with the extra import. I think for now, I think that's the right move, which the league needed to take, and for a team like Basingstoke, for example, to bring them into it, they're not going to have in my eyes, unless they pull off a worldie, the most amazing brick court ever.
Yeah.
like I'm talking one of the best in the league. But having that extra import gives them an opportunity to bring a guy in as they start their new rebuild and their new process. So I think it's a good thing. I think it helps out a
Yeah.
lot of teams.
There are pros and cons to it. Dan, I'll go for a couple now. So obviously, for imports, the level of the league goes up. The main argument for which elite league fans say is that the quality of ice hockey is so much better with all these imports, which I completely understand. So that goes up in our league because you get an extra import. And look how good some of those imports were last season. You now get to have four in each team. So when we do our season previews, we can talk about an extra import in each team if teams choose to go with the four, which I assume they will to keep it competitive. Then you're looking at the Brits. Now, I do think the Brits aren't quite as strong and at that level back in the EPL days. I think there is a bit of a gap, but hopefully they can get better with the imports. The imports should hopefully make them get better. I think the main argument is, are the big clubs just going to get better and the clubs at the bottom with maybe a little less budget, are they just going to be playing catch up? But then you could also look at it, well, this it gives the clubs at the bottom an extra import to try and reach the level. So how do you kind of look at it? Because we could go back and throw on this for ages, but we don't want to spend too long talking about it.
Yeah, no, I obviously we've all watched the EPL, like we know what quality that is, and
Well,
I
some
love the.
fans might not have. Some
Oh
fans
yeah,
might
yeah. I
not have.
mean, yeah, some fans might not, but obviously most fans have, and the quality of the game was unreal back then. Like the competitions actually felt like competitions. Everyone was battling. All these players were battling, and
Players weren't
the
getting 100 points every season.
no, the Brits, their game was boosted, their game was elevated because you had Brits that are on lines with one import or two imports, depending on how many, obviously how many people went with in forwards and D. Um, I think it's only a good thing. I love the EPL, and I would love it to come back. I would love the quality to come back in that way. It will be tough because it's obviously hockey's changed so much since then. But I can only see a good thing from it. I think teams, at the end of the day, teams wouldn't have agreed to have four imports if they didn't feel like they could do it. Obviously, all the league has to come to an agreement. They wouldn't have just brought it in for no reason and sort of just left teams hanging. Every team would have had to agree to it, and I'm just excited to see how teams go with it. It gives you a lot more flexibility when picking your roster. Depends if you want to go for a more defensive sided roster, obviously getting 2D, or you can get 1D, one goalie, or you can go for a more offensive roster. You can go for three import forwards or four import forwards if you wanted to, even. But I think most teams will be going down the route of two import forwards or two import D. I think that's what I'm going to be looking at. But obviously, the import goalie option is always a thing to go down.
Yeah, we could debate about this for ages. I think import goalies is I hate to say it, but there are very few other Brit goalies apart from the ones we're seeing in our league, which can come into our league and really make a team competitive. So I think you're right. We might see a few teams go for that import goalie with that slot. But we could talk about this for so long. We've got all summer to talk about it, so we will definitely go through it over the summer to keep everyone entertained, and we can have a few debates about it. We might be able to get some other creators, other fans, to come on and give their views as well. But four imports next season, and then there was a couple signings and a departure which come out literally before we recorded this. Now Jake Bricknell is not returning to the Swindon Wildcats, which I think was it was talked about at Cov. Let's not lie to ourselves. There was a few rumours going about, and I like the fact that it's come out now and it stops all of these rumours because I hate rumours. I'll be honest. I just like to I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. And it's come out now, and Jake Brittner won't be back. And it's a big shock. I can imagine for a lot of Swindon fans, it is a real big shock. Jake's a really nice guy. Obviously, I've had the luxury of working with him in the team this season, and I've had some great conversations with Jake. We got to know his family as well. His family are lovely. But Charlie, I think the main thing to remember is right now it might be tough, and I know a lot of Wildcat fans found it hard seeing Colby and Gale move on. But imports come and go every season, don't they? The Brits might stick around. You might see like James Griffin's been at Milton Keynes for 10 years. You've got all these like Rennie Mars coming up to his ninth year. But imports, it's very rare for them to stick around for a long time, and it's just nature that they come and go, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's becoming a different league, as Dan said. When you hit four imports, you don't need imports to score 100 points to win you a championship. It's nice and it adds, but you may look for imports who are more focused on a two-way game and score you 70, 80 points. I mean, it all depends how you want to build your squad. How are you looking? And I think it's very interesting. I liked Jake. He had a good season for us. He had good patches. He had patches where it was frustrating. And he did score a boatload of goals. But there's players and preferences. My favourite player obviously is Thomas, and he's completely different to Jake as a player. Thomas thrives his game on two-way hockey, and he does score a lot of points, and we've seen in the past. But this year he was very good two-way. But at times you were like, oh man, I wish Thomas could score goals. Whereas Jake, you're like, oh, sometimes I wish you could do more defensive work, but you score a load of goals, but imports can be replaced. I was obviously I was disappointed when Gale left. I loved Gale as a person, but I knew we'd replace him, and we did, and we got Britnell. And next year, I could potentially see Swindon going down one import D and three import forwards. So that means you have two import forwards to replace Jake, which means no, you don't go need and sign an 110-point guy. You can sign two guys who you hope pick up 70, 80 points, and they got a real good two-way game and they suit Aaron's play style. And that could be the difference to replacing him. So it's sad. It's always sad seeing players going, but at the same time, I've enjoyed his season with us. He scored some iconic goals.
Oh,
My favourite one was against Leeds, where he sent Lewis Baldwin and then potted across
gospel.
Gospel. So it's really good. I'm sad he's gone, but I wish him the best. And we don't really talk about rumors on here.
Yeah,
We talk about the ones which gets announced. I don't really care about rumors until it gets put down on paper. As we've seen in the National League, a load of rubbish can get said and nothing can happen. So
yeah.
we'll
Just
see where
just
he
to
goes.
echo that, if you a lot of people might be screaming, "Oh, have you heard this rumor? Have you heard this rumor?" We don't like to talk about that on the podcast. As Charlie said, once stuff is announced, that's when we'll talk about it. We don't want to be chucking out all of these names and stuff like that because I know there was a lot of that at Coventry. And I think it's just best that we just talk about players which are confirmed. And that's why we're talking about the Jake news because it is confirmed. Dan, obviously, as someone who um, wasn't a Wildcats fan this season but watched Jake, what are the Wildcats going to miss from Jake's game? Because I think you do have to look at that as well.
You're definitely going to miss the physicality that he brings.
Yeah.
Sort of, you can see what Nell was going with when he needed to replace Gale. Like Gale had that physical
Yeah,
presence, Bricknell had
power
that physical
forward.
presence. It is you can see the league sort of going in that way, like getting these big sort of import power forwards. There is a mix now, but obviously back in the EPL you had more of those power forwards, and I think it's going sort of that way. Um, just his goal scoring ability.
Yeah.
Like he was a guy that he can make goals out of nothing. Sometimes when your brick guys aren't on it, you just know you've got Jake there that can obviously score you those big goals. Um, but apart from that, it's just an import. Like most imports bring these sort of attributes, and Jake's not the only guy that can do this. Like you've said, you can replace imports. There are people out there that can do this. So I don't. Swindon fans shouldn't be worried that he's not going to be replaced good because there are many people out there, and you just got to wait and see what Aaron's obviously going to do. He might go down a different route. He might go like Charlie said. He might go down a different sort of play style. He might not go for that power forward, but at the same time, he's still going to bring a more. He's going to bring a more all-rounded game.
Yeah, I think it's you're always going to get reactions straight away to news. I completely get that, but you've got to look at the long term, the bigger picture, and again, just like Charlie said with the rumors. Anyone who's just assuming things back behind closed doors, what we don't know, I don't like that either. You don't know what's happened, and
One
you just got to, that's, we can't do anything about it now. And
What
there's going to
one
be a new import coming in. I think that's the excitement of seeing a new import. If it was Malazinski, I'm sure Charlie'd be absolutely gutted, but they come and go, don't they? What were you going to say, Dan?
one thing I will say is if I was a Swindon fan and I saw an announcement of Bricknell going, I'd be more worried about announcement of Billing going because it's
Yeah,
harder to
that's
replace a
true.
Brit like that.
Yeah,
Like it's harder to replace a Brit of that standard. Whereas Bricknell, like I've said, an import, you can replace imports. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I was just saying when Roberts got announced as leaving from Basingstoke, like he scored us a boatload of goals. He was a sniper. Didn't have the two-way game like Charlie said with Bricknell. But I was sad. I was sad when he left because you know you're going to get consistent points from Roberts. But again, you can replace these guys.
absolutely. So I've quickly had to hop in because there's a signing literally today on the day we're going to post it. Ben O'Connor to the Swindon Wildcats has just been announced for next season 25-26. Obviously, he retired from professional hockey with the Dundee Stars. It's his last year, I think, with the GB as well, in Romania, where they're looking to get back to the top division. But this is an absolutely ridiculous signing. I remember watching Ben O'Connor, obviously with GB on the telly, but also when he's played the odd Elite League game in the Elite Series, the series in the COVID series, he scored ridiculous amount of points in that. Just to put it in perspective, in the 22-23 season, he was assistant at Guildford. He got 50 points in 54 games from defence. He then the next season got 35 in 52 games, and then last season he signed for the Dundee Stars. And he got 26 points in 54 games. So he's a very offensive defenseman. If you've been watching GB last year against Canada, he scored against Canada. It was a ridiculous goal where he toe dragged and then stuck it backhand past him, past the goalie. I think it might have been Binnington actually. But yeah, just a ridiculous goal. Now I've actually got in touch with a Guildford fan who we're friends with, and he's come to quite a few Swindon games this season when Guildford haven't played. And he's basically said when he watched them at Guildford, his shot on the power play is probably the best shot you'll see. Positionally, he could get caught out now and again, but that was in the Elite League. I think he's a very offensive defenseman, but in the National League, I think he's still could probably be one of the best defensive defensemen in the league, but I think you just bring him in for the offense. And his breakout pass, top notch. He'll definitely help the young guys. I think when watching Swindon, they love to play with that breakout pass, trying to get it to the forward straight away. To get into the opposition zone, and then penalty shots. I don't think I've seen him miss many. So yeah, just an absolutely ridiculous signing. We'll probably talk about it more next week as well, or whenever the next episode comes out, when Charlie and Dan can talk about it as well. But very excited. He's going to be a beast. I've seen a lot of people saying he's going to get 70, 80 points. We'll have to see it. But yeah, from his points record in the Elite League, it's certainly going to correlate well. And to add that to Swindon Wildcats power play, which is already probably the best power play in the league alongside Hull. It's just going to be, as I said, ridiculous. He is going to be playing for GB, his last GB tournament, I think, in Romania. So I'm going to be looking closely at that, watching how he plays. But yeah, I thought I have to come in and talk about it, even though it was literally this morning, to add this to this episode. So even though we had some news, obviously with Bricknell leaving the day before, it's nice to have some positive news with Ben O'Connor re-signing. So yeah, Ben O'Connor to the Wildcats next season. I'm buzzing about that. But a signing made by Charlie. Do you have anything else to add, or are you all right?
I was going to say, MK fans, we will be speaking about your
Yeah,
victory.
sorry.
We're not trying to delay it. I know there's a lot of MK fans here who are watching, and we are going to really deep dive Coventry. It's going to be a long podcast with the Griffin interview, probably 2 hours. I apologise if you think we're being salty
Yeah.
about it.
No, no, no. We will get
We
to you.
are going to go deep dive into it about how amazing your team played.
Yeah, I was going to mention as well, in terms of trophies, I know we have a lot of great Brits, but their imports didn't necessarily get 100+ points, and they've come away with a championship. So it's not all about the points. But with all that said, it is going to be sad seeing Brixie go. And yeah, wherever he ends up, whether that's another team in our league or back home, we'll have to see. But we've got one final announcement, then we can get to the James Griffin interview, and that's Tommy Spraggan finally been able to sign properly with the Hull Seahawks on a 2-year deal. He's 19 years old. His team had a pretty tough final at Cov. It was probably the final which we've seen in the NIHL one, which has gone one-sided completely. But that's still a great signing. Tommy Spraggan's a great prospect, and I know Matty Davies is really excited to have him for the next couple years. So that was it for the news. Oh, sorry, MK fans, one final one. There's Jason Buckman was announced as the Romford head coach. He was literally announced the day after we filmed last week's podcast. So he is the new coach, obviously, with Leisham going. He was Slava's assistant, which I know Charlie, that was the first thing Charlie noticed about. He was Slava's assistant for years. And he also coached the Buccaneers last year. And he's a familiar face around Romford. So it'll be interesting to see how his style of play comes into the team, what he brings as a coach, and which players he's going to bring in as well. So that is exciting news for Romford. Right, MK fans, we are going to cut to the James Griffin interview. Hopefully it's happened. If it hasn't, we'll go straight into Cov, but hopefully we'll be able to have interviewed him, and we hope you enjoy it. And welcome back. We've got another very special guest. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, so we've got the MK Lightning captain on. It's his testimonial year after playing 10 years at the club. And in his first year at captain, he led them to a playoff title literally like 4 days ago. He must be buzzing. So we might like to welcome on James Griffin. How are you doing?
Hey guys, you're all right. Yeah, still buzzing for the weekend.
We see the MK Lighting canvas you got behind you. How cool was that to lift the trophy in front of all the MK lot as well? Yeah, just talk us through it.
I think it's just very surreal. You know, you've been there for 10 years. I'm lucky enough to win trophies there. So I've won the Plus before, won the cup last year. But I think it's a bit different as a captain. Obviously, it's not down to just me, but it does bring a little bit more special for me. Like, I don't feel like I'm a failure, if that makes sense. But it's good.
When did you find out? Obviously, Lewis Christie, massive servant to the club as well. Obviously, he announced he was retiring. When did you find out you were going to get that opportunity to get that captaincy?
To be honest, it's not normally at the start of the year, pre-season. I wouldn't find out till the actual start of the season, start of camp. You know, you choose a guy, and most teams will do this. You'll choose a guy that's in the room that guys need to respect. Guys a little bit older. So it's just down to what Timmy thought. I guess Timmy thought me. So, you know, it is an honour. It is an honour to be a captain of MK Lightning.
Nice one. Go on, Chaz.
Yeah, so it's a massive club. And how has it been since you've kind of adapted as a captain of the club? You've obviously had an A for a little while, but having the C must have felt a bit different going into the season, a bit more responsibility.
Well, I just thought in the summer, I was like, is it going to change? It's not going to change me as a person. Like, it's not going to change the way I play. I still play the way I am. You know, you get to become captain because of the way you are. That's my opinion. It's just, there's a lot more responsibilities. There's things behind the scenes, you know, people talk to you more. You know, I'm not the most social person. I think guys on my team will tell you that, but it's just, yeah, there's things that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this season then, coming into it, there's a lot of changes around the league. I think the import standard has just gone up massively, and we're seeing a lot more, not closer to the EPL days. But what was kind of your thoughts coming into it for Milton Keynes? I know they've got such high standards, but yeah, what was kind of your thoughts coming into the season?
With the extra import, I think it helps. It's always going to help make the league better. I think, you know, the better the players, the league gets better. Obviously, we signed 2D men. Obviously, unluckily we lost Dylan halfway through the year, who's an absolute powerhouse, you know, offensive and defensive. But yeah, bringing in Patrick really helps. Spads is obviously physical, so and obviously we've got Timmy. That there's no question. Yeah, HL player helps out. So yeah.
Go on, Chaz.
It's not bad. Let's take it back a little bit before we get on to the playoffs. We'll let MK fans wait a little bit. You are actually part of the Swindon Academy, so you're part of what team we support. How was it growing up in Swindon? Obviously we know a beautiful place. How was it?
Oh, paradise, Paradise City, isn't it? Yeah, I grew up in obviously I grew up in Swindon and played for Swindon junior system all the way through. It makes me laugh because I sort of went before the OHA became the OHA. I went to Greendown, so I went to the school I went to. I was training, I basically was on my own OHA program before OHA started. Obviously, just went through the whole system. Ended up playing for Cats. Obviously, with Lee Richardson, your coach, assistant coach, Gareth Endicott. Yeah, goes on. So yeah.
And you obviously played at quite a young age. You got the opportunity to play for the GB under 18s, the GB under 20s, and then you got that chance to sign for Coventry. How was that as a young lad? Obviously, getting those opportunities to represent your country and then taking that step to the elite league as well.
To be fair, I probably the chances going to Coventry was probably through Aronell and Oldie, Ryan
Oh,
Aldridge.
really?
Yeah, at the time I was skate. Obviously, we skate Tuesday, Thursdays in Swindon back then. I don't know what you guys do now, but
Yeah.
I used to go down with Aaron. Obviously, I weren't driving at the time, 16, so I drive down with Aaron on a Wednesday or whenever I can, train with the team, and then go back. And then halfway through the year, obviously, I had a good first year with the Cats, and then second year, I decided to move up to go to Coventry. So just see how it was.
Nice one. And what was the elite league like back then? Obviously, it's progressed a lot now, and the talent in that league is you've seen it with the likes of Sheffield and Belfast in those competitions. But what was it like playing back then as a young lad?
I personally think it's changed a little bit. I think back then it was still a bit of a gritty game. We still had heavy guys. I played like Mike Egner and people like that were just solid AHL. Big D men. Ben Olsen. Obviously, we had the lockout year that we had Matt Bolesky. So like people like that come in the room. It's just a different world. You see the differences of levels of hockey.
Yeah, I think hockey's evolved quite a lot into the skill has definitely gone up for me. I think we're not losing that physicality, but it's a lot more skill bars gone up as well. But I like that you still bring that physical edge to the game. Is that something that you're never going to get rid of? You can't get rid of.
It's just really the way I play, really.
Yeah.
I'm not the most skilled guy, so keep it simple. Take the body and help out the team that way. I think that's the only way I can actually do it. So try that way.
I think you're being harsh with yourself there. Go on, Charlie.
And then after spending a couple of years at Coventry, you joined the team you're currently captain of, the MK Lightning. What was it like kind of going to MK for the first time? Did you think you were going to spend 10 more seasons there?
Truth and honest, like when I left Coventry, we obviously just won the playoffs. We like the 8th seed.
Yeah.
I was thinking like at the time we got a bit comfortable, so I was like, oh, I'm going to stay at Coventry forever. In the end, I basically got released. I had a few phone calls from different coaches, and one of them was Pete Russell. So obviously playing with Pete he offered me what he wanted me to do. I'm going to go to the Elite League 2 years later, and stuck with his word. So yeah, that was a move for me. Ricardo Milton Keynes, I didn't know much about Milton Keynes. I had to work out obviously because I still live near Coventry, so I've driven for 10 years straight down the M1. But it's just I can't explain the club. It's family oriented, fans. You just can't go wrong with the club.
I think that's one thing you cannot knock the Milton Keynes for. Their fan base is ridiculous. Every season, selling out that barn. Every time we go there, it's one of the most intimidating bars to go to. Just yeah, how has it been playing in front of all those fans? I can imagine at times you feel the pressure, but in other games they just help you get across the line as well.
I think sometimes we take it for granted. Like you think every weekend on a Saturday, whoever we play, we will have close to over 2,000 people. It is crazy when you think about it in our league. But that only happens because of the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I don't want to pump their tires too much, but like you have the sports club, like how much money I don't know, I think it's over 110,000 this year. It's crazy. And without those people behind the scenes in the club, we do not run as a high rolling team. So yeah.
Nice one. Go on, Chaz.
100%. As much as everyone knows I'm not the biggest fan of MK in terms of on the ice. You cannot fault them in terms of how they get that barn filled up, how they competed, and also how they kind of came back from the Elite League days. But we'll talk about the Elite League. You were one of the few players who kind of went up and stuck with MK throughout that whole kind of era. How was it playing in the Elite League at MK for 2 years? Obviously, I know they were a bottom end team, but it was a tough
It's a difficult one. We had our ups and downs. Like the boys stuck together that year. Obviously off ice there was a few issues I don't really want to go into, but
yeah, of course.
the guys were great that year, both years. Obviously that's where I met Timmy. But I think the guys stuck together. We knew what was going on. It was just, I don't think it was the best move for us to go up.
Yeah.
But until you try it, you'll never know. Like Guildford obviously have done it and they're doing great with it. So, you never know till you actually move.
Yeah, I was speaking to a Milton Keynes fan actually about it, and you didn't score in that first season, but the second season, I'm pretty sure they said that. Did you do like a coast to coast goal or something for your first goal?
Oh yeah, and it went on. It was on TSN because I hadn't scored in 2 years, and it was I got married that year, and one of my best friends, actually, Josh Bonello in Swindon.
Oh yeah.
Bon, yeah, he turned up with a T-shirt saying Griff scored a goal at my wedding. So thanks to that one.
That's
Do,
quite
do,
good.
do, do the lads still bring it up back in the day, that goal?
No, thank God, no.
Obviously, then the national come back, thank goodness, and I think me and Charlie were happy as well because there's no disrespect to the national one. We were grateful to still be playing, but the national come back, Milton Keynes come back to the national, and I think it was kind of the start of building it, and that's when you got the assistant as well. Was it kind of a no-brainer you were going to sign back with Milton Keynes in the National League?
To be fair, at that point, I finished uni.
Yeah.
So in the Elite League, I actually met. So I'm a graphic designer. So I created all the lightning stuff. So 3123 are one of our
Oh,
sponsors.
nice.
Yeah, Zeus is mine. So I actually designed Zeus.
Oh,
So I've got loads of things into lightning, but basically, I met my boss Scott on the ice shooting pucks, and
yeah.
I've stuck with him ever since. So I've still worked with him. So it was like basically I had a job and I could skate at night, so it was a no brainer for me to keep going in Milton Keynes.
No, that's really cool. I like hearing the off ice stuff as well as on ice.
Yeah.
Go on, Chaz.
Yeah, and then you kind of came back to the National League and being on an MK team in the EPL, which was kind of a top team, you kind of had the mini rebuild process. I would kind of call it. I think that's fair to say. Where the first year it was like, all right, who have we got together? And you kind of had the Liam Stewart, and I remember Robin Kovar coming halfway through the year.
Yeah.
We knew Kovar from Swindon. How was it kind of being a part of that rebuild process? And obviously now we know where you guys are at and selling out the barn again. But how was it kind of being a part of that stepping stone to get back to the top again?
It's a hard one, really.
Yeah.
I guess it's rebuilding, trying to get fans back into that rink, like enjoying hockey again. I wouldn't say that fans kept with us for Elite League. They came back down with us, but um, you'll see it like Swindon. Like if you're not winning, people will not keep coming. Like you have to keep winning to get people in the crowd. So I think get that winning mentality back, be competitive. Fans want people to be competitive. They want to try. They want to see people that are there to dedicate, and that's just easy things to do for a player position.
Yeah, I agree. I think over the years as well, with the fan base, as you said, all credit to the off ice people managing to get people getting those seats. What was it like seeing the club grow? And do you feel the pressure from obviously being the biggest fan base in the league?
So me and the guys have a chat about this, and I think I'm not saying like other teams will get this, Leeds will get this, Swindon will get this. I do believe that we have a pressure on our backs.
I 100% agree.
I've heard you guys on podcast say before, like how much money we spend. Like, I don't know what money we spend, but
yeah,
people have a certain level that we need to play at, and we'll find out if we're not playing our level. We lost to London, but London played well in the cup. It's just, and we probably put too much pressure on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You grip stick too hard, and then that's what happens. That's what happens in the end. You just don't play very well.
I have to say that I think this season, I've said it, mentioned it on the pod many times. This season did feel a bit different. I think you were right with Leeds right until the end, and we know how dominant and so good Leeds have been, but I actually think you were quite unlucky this season a bit because you had played at that level for so long. I think the playoffs then you were able to show what a team you have been this season.
Yeah, I do feel like this might be a bit biased, but I do feel like teams turn up in Milton Keynes and know they have to play.
Yeah.
It's like playing against
100%.
Manchester United. Like you want to
Yeah,
beat Manchester United, yeah.
and I respect, that's a lot of respect from teams, but we don't get nights off. Like we play bottom of the league, we play top of the league, we play Leeds. We know every home game is going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Every away game is going to be a battle. So it keeps competitive. It is good, but yeah, every game is always a game to play.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. I think there's this fun rivalry with the league and MK, and I enjoy it. I like to play along with it on the podcast. I chat to a lot of your fans about it, but I think it's an enjoyable rivalry, which makes, I can imagine for you guys, it entertaining and pressurizing. Because obviously we've seen with Peterborough the games you've had with them this year. It's been an electric season for you guys with a lot of moments, to be fair.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ups and downs. We've had a lot of ups and downs. Just
Oh,
trying to keep up, really.
What I've noticed though, especially in Romford, I think you've won 3 times in Romford, and that was a rink which MK have struggled in previous seasons. But I think your away form this season has been a lot better. Is there any reason to why maybe you've managed because you play so well on that home ice that I think the home record was a ridiculous amount of games in the row. But this season you've really knuckled down on getting a lot more away wins.
I think as a team before we struggled on smaller ice.
Yeah,
Obviously, we won twice in Leeds this year. That I think the year before we didn't actually beat Leeds in Leeds,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's a different mentality to play in smaller rinks. And it's as well. You think how many times these small teams play small teams week in week out, and then they have to come to either Sheffield or Milton Keynes. It's hard to adapt to. You've got a bit more room, a bit more
yeah,
space.
yeah.
So it is just down to, I wouldn't say it's down to ice size, but it's just getting the boundaries right and knowing where to chip the puck.
yeah,
And you have to change your game. You have to change your game for these little rinks.
No,
yeah.
100%. 100%. I've seen in some players they thrive at shooting on like the hash marks, but then in MK they're further back or whatever. It changes how you play your game completely.
You'll shoot from anywhere in some of these rinks. So in Peterborough, like if you get over that blue, shoot the puck, you're gonna have a chance. But Milton Keynes, you get over the blue, you still you've got so much time to walk or make a play or get your head up, try and button hook, just try and hit someone anywhere. So yeah.
Mhm.
Headed into the playoffs, then, as you mentioned, there was that pressure to make Coventry, and you guys made Coventry. And talk us through it. What was the mentality going into that semi-final? Leeds again. We do the podcast with Dan, and he was saying how unreal the games have been. But what was kind of the message going into that game?
I think it's like a stage before that. I think we were talking about pressure earlier.
Yeah,
A lot of the guys were feeling the pressure to make it to Coventry. So
yeah,
in my opinion, I might be wrong from my guys, but I feel like when we got to Coventry,
yeah.
the pressure was off us. So I
Yeah.
think that's when we
You're
started.
there now, yeah,
We're there. The fans. I'm not. It's great to have all the fans there. The whole party's there. It's great. What we do now is, people are happy, but we want to excel. So it is.
Yeah.
It's just down to pressure. I don't think the first stage we obviously played Romford. We didn't have a great week. Obviously, we got through 2 games and won, but we played you guys.
I actually thought it was 2 really good games against us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we won't talk about the first game and that goal. If it's goal, no, I don't know. Everyone asked me, I was like, I'm on the bench, I can't hear, so
Yeah,
I'll say it
so
wasn't a goal.
now did that.
I'll say it's not a goal. And then obviously the game in Swindon was probably my fault on Beveris. I just wasn't gapped up very well, and he obviously shot from blue. But then obviously we played Sheffield. We knew we had to get a job in, go on Friday, get the job done. We knew we had to play Saturday, get the job done, got the jobs done, and then that was it. It's just build for the next week and hope for the best.
And we talk about that ice pad. Coventry is a bit of a bigger ice pad, and oh my goodness, that first 10 minutes, you could really just see the intensity Milton Keynes are playing at. You guys didn't look nervous, following through on every hit. The physicality stuck out for me. Was that something that Tim was really like getting into the team to follow through with your hits, play the game?
We try to play that way, try to be physical.
Yeah.
You think we skate on a big ice pad all year round?
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday game, Saturday, Sunday might not. but it is down to fitness. I do believe our fitness is like we do stress on, make sure guys are fit, make sure they get up and down the ice, make sure they can last. Because we play try to play at such a high pace and push the pace. We will catch teams. We'll try and catch teams out. So yeah, I think Coventry, and don't forget we played Coventry start of the year. So was against the Blaze. So we started in Coventry and ended in Coventry. So I know it's only one game. Guys have been there. They know, like if they've never been in Coventry, they know how to play that rink.
That's true, actually. Yeah. And you definitely threw some nice hits. Is it a good feeling when you're in Cov and you're feeling good about your game and you're throwing hits? And then, of course, you scored a goal with that white stick of yours.
Oh,
yeah, the white stick.
You're one of the players I've seen with that stick.
I get cheered from everyone, boys, other team. Just a skill guy stick on, the opposite. It should be just jet black and heavy.
Well, it got the rebound in the first, in getting that first goal, though, didn't it?
I was due one. My points ain't been very pretty this year. I was due one. Boys kept saying I was due one, so yeah, there it is. Put me in front and just don't move.
It was on the power play as well.
I like that little move. Delayed penalty. Griffin on the bench. Bang, 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 bang.
Straight out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you played that game on the Saturday, and we were just saying off camera. I think Milton Keynes probably on the whole deserved to win in regulation, but Brown did what he did. That's what Kieran Brown does. How do you mentally reset after 9 seconds away from the final to then go again in this 10 minutes of overtime against Leeds?
I think it's obviously mentally having the thought that you are going to win. I think once you put that in the back of your mind, you're not going to win. I think it starts at the start of the day. Like Will Curlin, we're playing football, ball goes under a car, doesn't get squashed. Like he's just like, it's a good day. Good luck, and that's stuck for me the whole weekend. That
really?
He's one thing, and it's like today's gonna be a good day. Yeah. So just going into that game being positive. Okay, it might happen. It's saying to the guys, everyone stick together. Whatever happens. We're a team. We'll get through whatever happens, and that's how we achieved it.
And you killed that massive penalty as well in overtime, and then Dylan with just a bit of class to take it round Sam Gospel. And what was the feelings like after that semi-final? Because I think we recorded the pod yesterday, and we kind of said that Leeds have kind of always had the victories, I guess, over you guys. They just beat you to the league, but you got one over them, and you've gone on to win the playoffs. So how did that kind of feel after winning in overtime?
Obviously, those games are do or die. So after the game, I took my kids home. I put my son to bed. It's like 8 o'clock, and I remember just getting into bed with him, and I was just like, I'm mentally drained. My body is just hanging on, and like hopefully just recover tomorrow, get the water in, and hopefully just be ready for the next day.
Yeah, I've always wondered from a player's perspective, when you're on that Coventry ice in overtime and you kind of feel the atmosphere. It was loud in that place, but also really quiet. It was weird. How are you as a player just trying to think, is it don't make a mistake as a defenseman and make sure you know where you are?
I think guys will do it differently, but like I said earlier, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
I know my job. If I do my job and my D partner does his job and everyone else on the ice does their job, like head saves the puck, we'll be okay. But once guys start going outside the toolbox and not using the right tools, then we get in a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Headley there, and you get into the final, and what he had a really, really, I think that first period was so good from him, because you come out of that first period with the lead, and I've forgotten who it was. I might have been on Ferrara, but he made a ridiculous cross crease save.
It bounced in the slot.
Oh my days!
It literally bounced his slot, and he one-teed it up, and he heads was out of nowhere. Yeah,
I don't know how he managed to say. Everyone thought it was in, and those are kind of.
I don't think it was because the save in Swindon though. That might be the save of the year. The one in Swindon where he reaches back with his stick.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. He's quite a clutch goalie at some of them saves, isn't he?
I think that's probably the most ridiculous. Actually, no. When we played London the first game, that is it Ryder that got the second goalie?
Yeah.
We had an empty net, and he skates to the bench.
Oh, so he jumped across.
The next minute, we were all looking on the bench, and even the boys were like clapping on our bench, like that was a pretty good save. Like diving slide would stick out, and he still saves the puck. We're like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because he went to make a change. I remember watching the stream for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a ridiculous save by Headley, and it was quite we haven't spoke to him, but it was quite a weird burst for him because obviously he had that tough start, and then to bounce back from that, to be the starter and to be one of the best players on the ice in the final, you need your goalie to be one of the best, and he was
Yeah.
so good in that final.
Yeah, like, obviously he had a bit of a rocky start.
Yeah,
Will come in. Will helped us out in two
yeah,
games, and then obviously went to Sheffield, went back to Heads. Both played a part. Both got us through to the end. But yeah, Heads was brilliant at the weekend. You can't fault him for that.
yeah,
Yes, it's them momentum changes as goalies. We've had it. I think Rennie for Swindon has had his best year, and you just notice it in games like that Cov game. It was 3-1 instead of 3-3 because Jordan had just
Yeah,
robbed Peterborough twice, and then that suddenly became 5-1. And at the half an hour point, I don't know if you felt this as a player, but from a fan's perspective, it was like there's only one team who's lifting this cup at the end of the night.
but it's the same as like having a fight.
Yeah,
It lifts the boys up. Guys see him. Okay, he's playing. We need to
you
get
see him
going.
tapping the bench
Yeah.
like.
Because at the end of the day, they're in that slot because of us. It's we just got to help him out. He helps us out, and then you get the outcome.
One player, another player, then Ross Venus. Obviously, you've had him a couple years now. A power play goal, just he knows that ring up the back of his hands playing there. He just found the space and got that in. And then the short-handed goal, he seemed to be the coolest man in the building there to stuff that away. How good has it been to play with him? Did you play with him at Coventry when
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I know V since I know
Yeah,
Ross since I was young age, 16, 15, probably younger than that. We used to play against each other. So yeah, I know Ross for a long time. Yeah, like what you get with V.
yeah,
He's unbelievable on the puck. Him and Dylan together, like if you watch them play together in the center of the ice,
yeah,
you give them a puck, they'll get to each other, they'll get out of the zone. That's what you need.
yeah.
Very talented, they both are. So yeah.
Go
Mhm.
on, Charlie.
Yeah, and then what was the feeling like going into that final period? You're 5-1 up. You know you just got to do your job, close out the game, and you'll be the champions of
like,
Coventry.
like I said, it's just I think going through boys' head is just do what you need to do. Make sure protect the blue lines, chip in, chip out. Make sure guys are make sure you're working harder. Make sure you win like puck battles. Puck battles are a big thing. Win
Yeah,
your puck battles, get the puck out, protect the house, and
Mhm.
everyone does every that. We'll be absolutely fine. If we get scored on, don't worry. Just reload, restart. Let's go again.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it has to be said, it must have been sweeter as well to be able to do that over Peterborough as well. As Charlie said, there's been some real good battles this season between you guys.
Yeah, I think there's quite a big hate between the two teams. We do go at each other quite hard. So, and obviously the history over the last 2 years, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It's hockey. Like you guys will have a Bristol, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've created our rivalry with them. Yeah.
But it makes those games extra special. Players makes it extra special for the fans. So yeah, they're great games to be part of.
Mhm.
For
100%.
you, for you personally, then, what was it like after the game, being able to lift that trophy with your kids and share that with your family? That
Yeah,
must have been one of the best parts.
yeah, like that's the one thing goes to my head is like it's great, obviously the after party's unreal.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd put the cup down at all. I think I just go around the bars. But like to have it with my kids and have it with my wife on the ice is just yeah. My son's hockey mad.
Really?
Yeah, he's 4, but he just like I think we're on the ice and you see my son just shooting pucks in the background with my stick, like. But that's him loving it. Like
Yeah.
I'll always have that memory in my head forever.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
those are the stuff I love hearing to do with hockey, the bits after it. But the hockey season's not done for you yet. You've still got your testimonial this weekend. I know again a lot of effort's been put in behind the scenes to get this going, and is that some of the merch on your head as well?
Yeah, yeah, my logo. Yeah, the Griffin.
I've seen a few MK boys
Yeah,
repping it as well.
yeah. They all got the hoodies on, the purple hoodies. Yeah, I went purple just to be different. I wanted a
Yeah.
different color than gold and black. But yeah, it's been a very, I'm gonna get something out of it at the end, but like it's been very stressful to get it going throughout the year. Obviously, I'm director of the Puckyverse, the hockey shop as well. So
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
between working 9 till 5, the testimonial, the hockey shop, practice,
Captain.
traveling, the captain, like yeah, I've got a lot on my plate, but I'm just I couldn't ask for a better club to have my testimonial at. Like, it's going to be a great weekend. We have awards night on Friday night, so it's a.
Oh,
I think guys play golf Friday morning. We have awards night Friday night, and then Saturday we have a testimonial. So it's just another weekend, and
you're going to be spent.
I couldn't ask for anything more than obviously last weekend. Like, I really couldn't. But it's it's great to see people again. Testimonials just to relax, but everyone's come together again just for one more time for the season.
And there's going to be a lot of Milton Keynes fans watching. Have you got like any more information which needs to be said for on Saturday?
I was going to say this, come down, see the team that just won the playoffs. It's going to be the last time you see them on the ice, so get your tickets.
Good, nice one. We'll put a little bit of promotion out there for you as well.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
Charlie, have you got
100%.
anything else?
Yeah, make sure you head down to the testimonies. They're always a good laugh, and I'm sure there's some. I haven't looked at the people actually, but I'm sure there's some old faces from the MK Lightning roster. I think what you mentioned was Leishman, one of them.
Yeah,
Lations there, yeah.
Lace is in there. I've got Ashley Tate as well, so I was like, I'm getting all
Tate, yeah, I saw
in
him
the
from
league.
Cov. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got loads of random guys, maybe guys who haven't played in a little bit, who get their kit on for the first time in a while. It's all good fun, and
Yeah, I tried to explain to fans it's a bit of fun. It's not
Yeah.
you're not expecting last weekend's games.
We've had a few. I think Richie had one. Obviously, Whitfield had one as well.
I played in
Yeah,
Richie's.
you were at Richie's one.
I
Yeah.
couldn't make Floyd's. I actually did all Floyd's logos, so all the Floyd's because the old
Really?
yeah, I did
Oh,
Floyd's stuff. Yeah,
oh, nice. Yeah, they were nice little jerseys.
yeah.
Well, I wish you good luck for this weekend. It's been a long season for you. But I think it's been rewarded in the end, getting that playoffs, and you've now got even more to enjoy with your testimonial.
All right, cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
yeah,
Charlie, anything else, or are you all good?
yeah. Congratulations on the playoffs.
That's hard for him to
Next
say
year
that. Isn't
we
it?
can
That's
get.
so hard for him to say that.
Oh mate, it is hard. Hopefully Swindon can get one up on you next year.
Hey, James, thank
We
you
let
for
you win
coming
two
on,
games
man.
of playoffs. Like,
We didn't get the cup though.
yeah, I'll take the cup.
Hey, thanks, mate, and good luck for Saturday.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Right.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you very much, James, for hopping on. If you were able to, we hope all the MK fans watching enjoyed that one. And we wish James and everyone part of the testimonial on Saturday good luck. As I said, make sure if you are in that area, you go. It's another week of hockey, so we're gonna have four or 5 months without it. The Cov weekend then, and me and Dan went up on the Friday. Charlie, you come up on the Saturday. We had the meal. Obviously, I was absolutely bricking it for the Saturday. It's always a different feeling for Coventry when your team's there compared to when your team's not there. So I can imagine it was a very nice chilled weekend for you, Dan, going to Coventry with your family and us. Right, where do we start then? Should we go with the Swindon game, Charlie? Should we get that out of the way? Yeah. Swindon game was the first game then, and coming into it, let's just say we got our predictions wrong on both games in the semi-finals. But coming
My
into it,
prediction king title's gone down the flipping
yeah,
toilet.
we've all let each other down here on predictions for this one. But I think a lot of people coming into this game did think that Swindon would finally get to that final of Coventry because of the form and the way they've played in those 6 games. But this is where you've got to give credit to Peterborough and Slava. It all starts with the coach and Slava, but the players specifically in that semi-final, the way they set out on that big ice pad, and it all started with that Nathan Salem goal. Now, should we just get it out of the way? Nathan Salem, Charlie, how flipping good was Nathan Salem this weekend? You could tell he was ready for this final and he set the tone straight away using the screen of the D-man and just sniping one in that top corner.
Yeah, he contributed to every goal bar one for Peterborough of the weekend.
Yeah.
For me, he was the player of the tournament. And I know they gave it to winner, but I called him Nathan McSalem after Nathan McKinnon this weekend. He was a power forward machine, that man. And to be honest, I was just shocked. I was looking at Daniel and what he's gotten into him. Why is he so good? Like, he would go into ball battles with 3 Swindon players by himself and just come out with the puck. And do you know when you just see a guy's locked in, you just could tell. And Salem was unbelievable. Best player on the ice by quite a distance for both teams.
Yeah, he was very, very good. He opened the scoring 45 seconds in, and it was one of them. Obviously, Swindon had last year in playoffs, Dan. We were 4-0 down against Leeds within 10 minutes, and you're thinking we've just got to get through this first little phase because if I'm being completely honest, we did look a bit nervous, and a lot of those players again haven't really played at Coventry very much in front of that kind of crowd, have they?
No, it's always a different sort of feeling going to Coventry. Like even though you're playing against the teams that you've played in the league, it's just playoffs is just different. Like you're on that big pad, you've got all the fans in the league around you. It's some of these players just they don't feel that. They don't feel that sort of that atmosphere at games. You know what I mean? Like normally they're just used to having one team, which is your team, and then the team you're against. They don't normally have every single fan base obviously looking at you. Um, and I think Swindon as well. Obviously, because they've had their struggles in Coventry, they've always sort of got that added pressure onto them, sort of on their back, because they always seem to do well going into playoffs. Like Swindon, obviously, were the only team that went unbeaten going into playoffs. They've got that they've got that confidence, and then with that confidence, you've also got pressure of performing on the big stage because if you don't perform on the big stage, it makes all of that just there's no point in doing it. You know what I mean? You may as well have just scraped through to the playoffs because it's the exact same thing. Um, but fair play to Peterborough. They know how to get it done. They know what to do in that big stage. They're a team that know how to do it. Like you can tell that they're always prepared every year. The mentality in that team is different when it comes to Coventry, and you can just see it thrive through the whole team. Every single line just turns it on, turns it up, and yeah, they just turn up for the big stage.
Well, they went 2-0 out, 2-0 up, sorry. Ferrara got that second goal. He latched onto the rebound. And I'm thinking, right, is Aaron going to take a timeout here? And he did. And I think that he's taken timeouts this year. I've been that's really helped the team kind of just reset, and we go again. Maybe we haven't quite played to how we set out to play, and then come the scrappy goal, Charlie, from Tomash, and that's sometimes what you need in a game like this where you're struggling to really create some opportunities, and he flings one on net and it hits Levine, who originally saves it, but it hit his back, and the goal line tech was available this weekend, and the referee originally signaled goal. He checked the footage and confirmed that it was a goal, and I think that kind of changed it a bit because we ended that period, the final 2 minutes, kind of putting a bit more pressure on, and we kind of got out of that nervous stage, and we started to just play a bit of hockey that we know.
Yeah, Thomas, Rennie, Wowsy, some of the only players I think who kind of
Bally as
started that
well.
game. Bally, yeah, who didn't look too nervous. So I was really happy for them. To be honest, from a Thomas's fan perspective, I was buzzing to see Thomas perform at Coventry. I've been waiting for that moment for so long, and I was really happy of how he played. But yeah, we started off nervy, weren't great, and then it was a huge goal, to be honest. It was a goal which you want your imports to do. They're imports for a reason, and when your team's not playing well, you want them to shift the momentum in the game. And that's exactly what he did. He shifted the momentum. He changed the dressing room team talk massively. And it was kind of just a little bit of an individual effort. Managed to sneak it through the corner. Leving made an excellent save to save the shot. He tipped it onto the bar, and then I think he accidentally backed into it, but definitely not on him. But yeah, it was. I love Thomas. I'm really happy he turned up at Coventry. His two-way game was brilliant, and yeah, it was a big goal for us, which kind of, like I said, changed the period talk, team talk. It
Yeah,
was no longer, boys, what are we doing? We need to sort it out. It was, all right, boys, we've not been good. We deserve to be losing by more than a goal. Let's count our blessings and start turning up now, boys.
yeah. So second period comes, and I thought we were actually the better team in the second period. In terms of overall play, I thought we had more puck possession. We created a few chances. We really struggled actually, Dan, to create those clear cut chances in the slot. And I think that's credit to Peterborough as well because they have their setup. And again, I'm going to say it again for any fans trying to criticize Peterborough for the way they play, that is the way that wins you these games and wins you these playoffs and championships. And that's why they've been so successful in winning these cups over the years, despite not maybe having the biggest budget. And they really stopped Swindon, and particularly Jake Bricknell, who we've talked about. When Jake's given that space and time to shoot, he is so deadly. But Peterborough closed that space and didn't let him get into those areas which were going to trouble Levine, and it forced him wide round the back of the goal. Um, we did finally get that goal, Dan, through Bally, and I thought, okay, it's 2-2 now. It's a bit of pressure on Peterborough, but they saw out the period, didn't they? And it got to the third period, and there was a few penalties back and forth. Swindon did actually really well on the PK, a bit disappointing from a Phantoms power play point of view, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the final. And then the big moment for me was Swindon got a power play. And Swindon power play has been kicking all season. It's been one of our strongest points, but Peterborough managed to kill it off. And they then ended up scoring, Dan. And you've got 7 minutes to go. And yeah, the pressure was on then. And I think you could tell in maybe some of the plays and players, maybe it was a bit too rushed. And yeah, it just wasn't to be for Swindon, was it?
No, it was definitely the pressure definitely got to him in the end of it. But like you said, credit to Peterborough, they made it so difficult for Swindon to get into the zone. It only looked like they scored that goal literally. Obviously, it was a
Off the
greasy
rush.
goal. Like, and then the Bally goal, yeah, it was off the rush. Like, that's the only way it looked like Swindon were going to get a chance, because Peterborough clogged up the neutral zone. If you got into the neutral zone, you were into the corner, going into the boards. They'd clog up the slot. They weren't letting any grade A chances come in. You had a guy literally man marking Bricknell every time he was on the ice. Like,
Ugas was really good.
he's a danger man. Slava was. I saw Slava on the bench. He was literally pointing out Bricknell every time he was on the ice to his players. So Slava knows. Slava's not stupid. If you take the main guy out to play, they're going to struggle to score goals. So, like, that's just what you do. And then yeah, it was a dagger for Swindon. That was a really tough time to concede a goal just
It
after they killed the
it was
penalty.
actually not. I think there was just so many bodies in front of Mar, and Salem was very clever. He didn't just fire it in net. He kind of turned around and floated it into that top corner, and no Mar had no chance of seeing that with the amount of bodies
The,
which are in the way.
the thing is, in this game, particular, Salem was as confident as he's ever going to be.
Yeah,
Like, he was playing that puck with intention every single play. Like, he was skating the puck in, he was getting to the net,
great on
he was
that.
making plays. If Salem was ever going to score this goal, it would have been in that game, because everything seemed to be turning perfectly for him. It was just one of those games where everything he was doing was right, and he got that goal. And you know what Peterborough do when they go up that late on in the game. You know what they're going to do. They're not going to make it easy to get into the zone. They're going to make it harder than they did in the other part of the game. And yeah, Swindon, it's just, you're going to rush. Like, every team's going to do it. You're going to be rushing for that goal. But sometimes, I know it's easier said than done. It's easier to say. It's easy to say from the other side of the boards, but sometimes you just got to slow the play down. Play the play that you know. Like, play the game that you know. Play the game that Swindon play. They just pass the puck around, get that space open. But yeah, it was a bit in moments. It was just sort of just shooting the puck. And I get it. Get the puck on net. Get in on the Veen. But the way Peterborough were defending, they were getting the puck clear
They
every
didn't let
time, and it just
anything
wasn't
go in the
working. Like,
slot.
yeah, it just wasn't working, and it just wasn't meant to be Swindon in that game.
I actually thought we did all right when we pulled the goalie. I know they scored the empty net goal with like a
But I
second
was like,
to
with
go.
like, yeah, second.
He just flew it up the ice, but we threw everything at it. And I was gutted for the lads. I was gutted. I was more upset than angry, I've got to say. We gave it a good shot. It didn't quite work, Charlie. I think the main thing we took out of it, we were gutted because we done so well in the groups. And I'm sure the players were absolutely gutted as well. It wasn't quite the way which I know we can play. I think that was the bit I was gutted about, because you're in front of all these fans, and it's like we've played so well these last few weeks to end the season and the playoffs. And credit to Peterborough and Slava, they really worked hard to grind that win over the line. And on a whole, they deserved to win the game, didn't they?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I just think we can play a lot better than that. We've gone to Coventry twice. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't. We played better than we did last year, but we were still at 50%. We can play 50% better than that, and it was just frustrating. Like if you look at the big picture of the game, me and Jack were saying that the toughest thing is I can't even remember many grade A chances Swindon had.
Yeah.
Peterborough did so well at making sure we didn't really have any cutting edge chances. And whereas you can think of Peterborough had three 1v1s, Mar saved them all. Mar had an excellent game. Rennie Mar, top save percentage of playoffs. He's proven many people wrong this year. Rennie Mar's been an absolute brilliant goalie this year, and credit to him. I think he's worked really hard for that. Lovely guy. And one of them players who did turn up at Cov. But I just think there's probably quite a lot of players on the Swindon team would be disappointed. We didn't play at the level we could. We definitely can play better than that. But also Peterborough are very good at making games boring. And I'm not saying that as a like a dig, because I people know I like Peterborough a lot, but they're good at making games boring, so they flatten you out. And that's what they're so good at. And I think I can't remember who I was speaking to about this, but Swindon lack a bit of speed. So they play dump. They make you dump it. Peterborough do, and if you haven't got the speed, you struggle. And I think we could see Swindon's age. I think our age is our advantage against Leeds and MK, and we've had great results versus Leeds and MK this year. But against a team like Peterborough, who are so clever, they made it so that we felt our age, I think. And yeah, disappointed. I really am. I was genuinely gutted after the game. But one thing I will say, I met so many lovely Peterborough fans.
Oh
They've
yeah,
got such a lovely fan base.
yeah.
Shout out to all the Peterborough fans I met. People will know who we're talking about. I'm sure some of them are tuned in. So lovely, such lovely people. MK fans, as much as I dig at you, you've got some good ones in your fan base, and just some
Only a
lovely people
few.
in the weekend. Only a few there. Not gonna lie, Scott Mavia. Oh, what? Can't stand him. No, I'm joking, my own Scott. Yeah, it was good from Peterborough, and as much as I've raved about him this year, it was frustrating. We got slathered in the semi final.
Yeah. But also it's not an excuse, but I think as well, the big pad at Coventry, as I said, it's not an excuse, but we're so used to playing on that smaller pad and we couldn't quite play the way which I know we can on that smaller pad. But that's part of the game, isn't it? And we go again next year, up the Cats. And as you said, Charlie, shout out all those Peterborough fans. They give when we were giving it, they were giving it back. And then after the game, we could shake hands and have a really nice convo. Vicky as well. We met Vicky, the Peterborough fan. I met Emily as well. She was lovely, and her dad. Just honestly, I think we got even more people come up to us this year. I was humbled by the amount of people who come up and said they listened. It's actually crazy. We just sit here and chat bollocks about hockey. Like we don't expect all these people to come up and be like, "Wow, you know so much about the game." So we appreciate it so much. And let's get on to finally the journey of Milton Keynes in the semi-final and the final. We knew this was going to be the game, the game of Coventry, one of the best games we've seen at Coventry before the puck even dropped. Leeds Knights and the Milton Keynes Lightning, and what a game! It starts the game. Jordan Cowney, the big guys step up in those big moments. He gets that opening goal, just a snipe past gospel. And that first period, Dan, actually quickly before we get into the first period as a whole, Leeds then got that power play, and this is where I thought we all said together Ollie Endicott drew Forsberg into a penalty, didn't he? Into a roughing penalty, which Forsberg didn't need to take. And we all said as a three, oh dear, is this, if Milton Keynes can't play like this because this is all playing to Leeds' hands, and Leeds got that first power play and scored the power play literally straight away, didn't they? And that got it to 1-1. But credit to Milton Keynes because they didn't, from that moment on, for the whole weekend, they didn't do another silly thing in the whole weekend. They didn't take another silly penalty. They got some penalties throughout the weekend. Don't get me wrong. They took some penalties, but they didn't have any of those silly ones like Forsberg did right at the start. And they were able to play their game, weren't they? And I think that was key this weekend. Something of the many factors on why they're playoff champions, because they played to their strengths and didn't get lured into anything, Dan.
Yeah, it's obviously I've been to a few MK Leeds games this year. Um, I was I was saying Leeds were going to do it the whole weekend
We
and
all did,
lead
yeah.
into the weekend as well. But I think that first 10 minutes really set the tone of the game. MK came out with a game plan. Like they didn't just come out and play their game; they came out with a plan. And if people have watched the Leeds, you know they don't like playing that physical game. We've said it like when they've come to Swindon, they don't like playing the physical game. They don't like playing around the boards. They like to be able to sort of have the space and the time to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And MK came out. They put their guys out. They put their Hammers out. They put their Rio Grino Parks out. They put Wallace out. You just throw in the body, finishing their hits, proper playoff hockey. And Leeds don't like that. They don't like it when you've got guys forechecking them 24/7. MK have got the depth to do it. MK can run those lines, and having Tim Wallace on a third line is very effective in games like that because he'll throw the body, like he'll finish his hits. And me and Charlie have said we love watching Wallace for his hits.
Oh, he's
Like
so
he
good.
throws some bombs, and
Oh, mate.
you can tell he's played in the NHL. Like you can tell, and
AHL.
you can see why he was in that level for so long because he plays the way to keep spots in that sort of league.
Oh, mate.
And he dialed his team in that weekend, and they played perfectly. They played the game perfectly. Many people have written MK off in these sort of games. I have myself. I'm not going to say I haven't. But MK came out and they played a perfect playoff game against Leeds, and they were, in the end, they were deserved winners. I think.
Yeah, they're so physical. Every player in that MK team bought in to playing that physical, following through on every hit in a sensible way, not hitting and it leaves a guy open at the back. Wallace threw some absolute bombs. Griffin is
Griffin
one
throws
of, I
bombs.
know we've had him on the pod, but he throws some juicy hits. He's a tough guy, one of the toughest guys in the league. And he threw some. And someone who stood out, Charlie, on the Saturday, was Dylan Lawrence.
Oh,
And he got that power play goal to make it 2-1 to the Lightning heading into the second period. And when he gets that space, when he gets that time to flick the puck on goal, he can be so, so dangerous, can't he?
Yeah, I think it's funny, really. For all the criticism MK have had for their imports this
They
season,
were so good this
their
weekend.
three imports were phenomenal in these two games. And if that's Tim Wallace's last game in hockey, which for me, I have a feeling it will be, I'd be surprised if he played next year. That was a phenomenal weekend to go out on, and I think he finally learned it. I like for me, he finally learned. I just need to chill on that third line
Yeah.
and bash the living daylight out of other teams and set the tone. And he really set the tone for his team. But Lawrence, a guy who I've kind of us guys have kind of debated a bit,
Yeah, we were a
Dylan
bit
Lawrence.
unsure. Yeah.
I'm a fan of Lawrence. I have been, but he had a quiet year. He was quiet at the start of the season. Then he had a big injury, which took him out for about 25 games, I think an MK fan told me. But since he's come back from that injury, he's clearly recovered and he's come back with a fight. Almost, maybe them having four imports spurred him on. I don't know, but maybe the idea that he could get scratched spurred him on, and he was lights out in playoffs. He was phenomenal. And the thing with Lawrence, which is really special, is I think he's got a good two-way game. I don't mind Lawrence's two-way game. He's a good two-way import. What we were talking about earlier may not get you 100 points, but he has a good solid two-way game. He's a center who wins you draws, sick at the face-offs. But he's got this naughty slap release, not slap shot,
Wrist
wrist
shot
release, and he's got disgusting hands. If you ever seen him take a penalty shot, he'll then dress your keeper.
every time.
But every time he just takes him out. He's like Cornel on penalty shots. And he was phenomenal this game. Him and Venus have got good chemistry from last year, and that came out in the playoffs. Him and Venus were phenomenal over the weekend.
Were they
And
phenomenal, Charlie? I don't
I've
know
said
if you've
that
said
quite
that
often.
word
But
three times or four times in a minute.
and then finally, I know I'm kind of skipping ahead, but you asked me to talk about Lawrence. He was flipping composed in the last well, overtime. Like he took the
Mm.
chance, and you want your imports to turn up. Like I said about Thomas scoring that big goal to change the momentum for Swindon. Lawrence scored big goals for MK in brackets. I think one of them was on their power play, which has struggled massively this season. Even in playoffs, it hasn't been brilliant their power play, but it turned up in Cov, which is all that really matters. So yeah, Dylan Lawrence cracking. Tim Wallace, I enjoy watching him. He's just fun. And Forsberg's been a revelation for them at D. Completely changed it around, and Spadafore looked like he had a good time. So I don't think he's moaning either.
Yeah. Well, his team won the cup, and I know that's probably tough. He would have loved to play out there, but the team showed this weekend how good they can be. And if we're going back to the game, let's talk a bit about Leeds because Dan, yes, they got bodied around, and I've got to admit, when it comes to that third period, they looked shattered. They really did look tired, but you cannot fault the flipping effort from those Leeds Knights boys. The first thing a coach asks for when you send out a player is effort, and they gave it absolutely everything. And after what I thought was a very good performance from Milton Keynes and deserving of the win because they kind of just tried to shut that third period down and just limit Leeds to chances and just trusted their defence. And one thing I noted to you was because of how physical they were in the first period and at the start of the second period, by the third period, Leeds just looked so tired because MK kept drilling into them. And I know it's a different sport. If you look at boxing, the reason why some boxers don't go for that automatic knockout straight away is because you want to try and wear their opponent down with the jabs, the body shots. It's like that in hockey, isn't it, Dan? With the hits, you're draining them down. And I'll be honest, I thought Leeds just look spent here. I don't think they've got enough to be able to get the goal. And then they pull the goalie. You got to do it. This is living proof on why you have to pull the goalie for that extra skater. Because I can't remember who it was, played it over to Brown. He was the free man, and he played it over to Brown. And Brown, who was quiet all night, he didn't really get much opportunities. I can't really remember an opportunity I've gone, oh, Brown, probably should have scored that, or he had many chances. That was the one chance he got, and he flipping took it. And that's what the best players do. He did the celebration, and suddenly you go from thinking MK are through to the final to, oh my goodness, MK have done so well, and they might lose this in overtime now.
Yeah, it's I was saying to Charlie, we had a few fans with us as well. I was like, I'm not putting it past Leeds to go and score in the last minute and take it to overtime and win it in overtime. Like I literally said that because Leeds are relentless. Like we've said it for like 2 seasons now. This Leeds team don't give up, and this game against MK semi-final of Coventry, this team aren't going to just roll over and give up. They played to the final buzzer, and what a goal! I mean, I was actually celebrating that game, and even I forgot to celebrate. Like the goal went
I was
in, and
shocked.
I just looked at Charlie. Like Charlie celebrated, I just looked at him. I was like, "What just happened?"
You baited him
Like,
out there.
I was like,
Dan, why'd you say that, mate?
"No, we're
Really
all celebrating.
celebrating.
It's all good. Anyone but MK, innit? Anyone but MK."
And it set up for a good over. I wanted to see an overtime.
Yeah, and I was like, right, Leeds have done it now. Like Leeds have got momentum. They're going to go momentum into this overtime. And I was like, yeah, Leeds have got it. And MK again, right? Don't write MK off. People will say it. I said it. MK played their game, and again, Leeds still look tired. Even with the momentum, they still look like they lost their legs. And we were saying as well, that's the first time I've seen Leeds in that situation. I've never seen Leeds look like that.
Well,
I've never seen Leeds
yeah.
look like they're struggling for chances. They really struggle to do anything because their guys would have shattered. Every player put 100% into that game. And MK in the end, their depth got them through it. Their imports got them through it. And I mean, it was a clever play from Lawrence, but Hayward will be annoyed that happened.
Yeah, he lost the face off. I have watched it back. You said he jumped the face off. I don't think he jumped it. He fell
He
forward.
tied it up and it
Yeah,
came
he
out to the
tried to
side.
snap it back and fell forward, and Lawrence took advantage. But we'll get to that in a second because it went to overtime, and you're suddenly thinking a Leeds gonna nick this, and all of that hard work MK have put in, and they might still just not come out with a win. And then they get a power play in overtime, Leeds.
That's
And
huge.
I will say, on the tired thing, Leeds have played the most games out of any team in the league. Obviously, they had to play those semi-finals, those two extra finals as well against Romford. So they have played the most games of any team, and that does catch up with you come the end of the season. But MK kill off that penalty, and Jordan Headley, I think, made two really big saves on that penalty kill in the overtime. And suddenly it's gone from Leeds haven't scored on this penalty. There's a couple of face-offs here. Leeds ice the puck. It comes back. As you said, Hayward tried, he fell over on the face-off, and Lawrence is such a clever player. He didn't rush it, did he, Charlie? He didn't rush it, just take the shot. Gospel Poe checked it. Lawrence saw that. He's one of the quickest players with his hands, dragged it onto his backhand, and MK Lightning are in the final. Talk through it, Charlie.
Um, devastation.
But no,
Um,
that was massive for them, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. I had a headache. It was an unbelievable game. I absolutely loved it. It was hilarious. It was funny. It was best game I've seen at Cov. I think we've been 4 or 5 times. And just yeah, why you want to watch hockey? That's why I enjoy hockey games like that. And just I even the MK fans were pretty quiet for their standards, and it was because they were just nervous.
Yeah.
Like it
Oh
was,
my,
it
I would have
was
been.
such a
I hate.
nerve-wracking
Yeah,
game.
fair
And
play to
that's
any
why
MK
I
fan
knew it
and
was a
Leeds
good game
fan
when
going through
MK
that.
fans were quiet. And yeah, just moments in hockey, and that was just one of them. It was almost not. It was odd. It was like face off goal. Oh, MK won it. Wow. And then like limbs, just limbs. Like there was some sellies and a half in that. Everyone was going mental. MK players couldn't believe it. Matt Hayward's career is done. Congratulations, but that is a heartbreaking way for it to end. As Leeds have said, they're going to a rebuild, so that's probably a couple players at least last game for Leeds. Era potentially. If they're claiming there's a rebuild, that's an era.
Yeah, I
Why am I
guess. Yeah.
butchering it? An
It
era to an
depends. It
end.
depends.
Like that is if such a big change for them, and yeah, it felt like a passing of the guards to me. I'll say it how it is. It felt like MK have finally got one up on Leeds. They'd finally done it. They'd finally gone, we finally got something over you. We beat you in an important game, and you paid the price for it. And I thought that was a huge momentum shift for MK. And yeah, it was massive. And the limbs, credit where credit's due to MK, it was mental.
I
Yeah.
That was
said it. I said it before the game. I said it before the weekend happened. I said it more after. I was like, it's cruel that one of those teams is going out in the semis.
yeah.
Like
That
that
probably
is
was the
cruel
final,
because
wasn't it?
that should have been the final. Like that game was unbelievable. I knew it was going to be unreal just from the games, but it was just so cruel that one of those teams weren't getting into the final.
Yeah. Quickly on Matt Hayward, I think it's harsh to say that it was on him whatsoever. I think it was really good play from. I'm not saying that we said it, but what a flipping career from Matt Hayward. And it's a gutting way to go out, but he did score in the game. And Leeds, let's not forget, Leeds have won the league and the cup. They have had a better season than Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes have had a great end to the season, winning that. But to win the double still, to get the cup, which they have really struggled to win, they couldn't quite get the treble. It proves again just how hard it is to win a flipping treble. And yeah, fair play to Matt Hayward and his career, and he's finally going to get some rest and being able to enjoy some more time with his family, which is brilliant. And you talked about the MK fans being nervous. Well, let's move on to the final, because they were much louder. Let's just put it that way. It was very much a different game on the Sunday. Now coming into it, um, I'm not going to claim I predicted it because I did have a prediction on what I thought would happen, but our predictions were crap this weekend, so I'm not even going to try and boast about anything. But I did think the way MK played, if they can play with that intensity, speed, they've got the players and quality such as Cowney, Venus, Lawrence to be at Rutkiss as well, who's really quick to get into the zone. And they've just got something which Swindon don't quite have, which is the speed, the youth, the pace. And I did think that might be a bit too much for Peterborough. And it come into the game, and I actually thought Peterborough started the game pretty well. I know MK got that first couple goals, one on the power play. They scored 3 power play goals this weekend, which I'm sure they'll be really happy with. Sorry, 4 power play goals, and a shorthanded. But they went 2-0 up, and did Peterborough took the timeout, didn't they? So Slava took the timeout this time at 2-0. And straight away on that power play, who is it? Nathan Salem. He got the goal. Quickly shout out to James Griffin, by the way. I think they changed the power play, so the power play one, so Griffin was right in front of the keeper, and we've seen them do it a bit this season. But Griffin right in front of the keeper, and he just bangs home the rebound, and he's so good at that in those greasy areas because, as we said, he's so hard to push off the puck. So that was really good tactical from something I did notice. I think you noticed that as well, Dan. And then Solder got that goal, which maybe Levine might want back. But Salem got that goal to make it 2-1. And you're thinking, all right, what's gonna go on here? How's the game gonna go? It's another little how are the teams gonna react? But Charlie Cowney straight away gets the goal to make it 3-1, literally 45 seconds later. And we said that Peterborough, they want to get into that final period where it's level or maybe one goal behind or a goal ahead. They thrive in those close games coming into those final moments. And unfortunately for them, it wasn't that, was it? And Venus scored 2 goals in that second period, one on the power play, one on the shorthand, and it was 5-1. I think everyone in that rink knew that I think Milton Keynes were going to be crowned champions.
Yeah, I think I originally thought going into it that MK were going to be the tighter team. They played an OT. It was an absolute war of a game, but to be honest, it looked like Peterborough were the tired team. They looked like the ones who didn't have all the ideas, and MK looked like they could have gone for so long. So yeah, it was a cracking performance from MK. Um, it was. I think Peterborough will be frustrated. You didn't see a great Peterborough performance at Cov. It wasn't like last year, but I think that's credit to MK. And I think the one thing we didn't mention was there was one guy who I think kept this game a whole lot like less closer. I don't really know the word. A whole lot less closer than it should have been, and that was Jordan Headley. He made 2 saves when it was 2-1. No, when it was 1-0 and when it was 3-1, which were robberies.
He
That
stopped it
first
from
one
being 2-0 at
particularly.
one point.
It should have been a 3-3 game. But Jordan Headley made the 2 saves of the playoffs. One of them where he did the splits or something was
Yeah.
insane,
Saved
and
it on
then
Ferrara as well.
the other
Yeah,
one was insane as well. I remember me and Ben Callahan just said, "Yeah, Headley's just won them that game."
Locked
Like
in.
in that moment, them 2 moments, like not of course the team played well, but you know what I mean. Them 2 moments just made that game comfortable rather than it being an uncomfortable game and being close. And yeah, it's easy to kind of look back at it now, but just phenomenal weekend from Jordan Headley. And yeah, just we've always said this: if you wanna win playoffs, your big players have to step up, and your goalie has to step up. And Jordan Headley definitely did that.
Yeah,
that's
they only had 20, sorry, they only had 22 shots, Peterborough, which I think they'll be a bit disappointed with because they had a lot more against Swindon. But as you said, a few of those shots were the big ones, which he saved in the first period. And come the third period, I think both teams kind of knew the game was very heavily in Milton Keynes' favour, but those big saves at the start were key from Headley. Go on, Dan.
that's really big for Headley as well because of the start to the playoffs that he
Yeah,
had.
massive.
That was tough on him. Like mentally, that's so tough being pulled out of your first playoff game and then you get benched for your next
Three.
what was it, 3 games? And then you get the last weekend of the group stages and you go into Coventry and you put on a performance like that. That is a mental boost right there. Like he would have been kicking himself if he ruined what what they could have had in that first weekend. He would have been kicking himself the whole year, the whole off season. But to finish his playoffs like that is massive for Headley. And yeah, he was phenomenal. He up there with Salem as being one of the best players on the ice in the weekend, because
Yeah.
he gave MK every single chance in that game. And like we both said, like Charlie said, the goalies are key. And yeah, he stood on his head.
Yeah, he was really good. I put out a tweet. He averaged over a 9.3 across his last four games, and then a 9.5 in the final. And all the coaches have said it. Your goalie's got to be your best player, and he definitely was on that Sunday. And another, I just want to shout out Venus. Um, that short-handed goal, by the way, breakaway. I knew that was going in. Venus obviously played in Cov for years. He knows it. He found the pocket of space, the big ice pad, and he just waited Levine out, didn't he, and stuffed it under him. And that Selly, he just
I
knew.
was
All of them knew it was done. The tongue out, everything.
I was saying to Charlie, I didn't even look at the goal. I knew Venus was in on a breakaway, but I just had my eyes on the MK crowd, and
Yeah.
so I didn't watch the clock go in. I just saw the crowds erupt, and yeah, I just want to say fair play to the MK fans. I've said it before. Obviously, I know MK are the villains, but I love having MK in Coventry just because of the atmosphere that they bring. They sold out. They sold out 3 blocks, 4 blocks, was it nearly? And
Stole
they
all
were
of Solways.
yeah, they stole the Solways, but Solway like MK, so it's all good. But MK's crowd, MK's fans, I the passion that they bring, I love. Like I love fans that really get into the game, and as much as obviously people can say they don't like MK, they don't like the team and stuff like that, the villains, which is fair enough, they like that, but the fans, yeah, you can't fault them for that weekend. They brought the passion, and yeah, they all brought into that pink thing as well. Obviously that they've been doing this year, so that was really good to see. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad they had a good weekend.
Yeah, well, it just shown when they went back to Milton Keynes, they sold all
Oh
four
yeah,
blocks, not
unreal,
sold, all four
unreal.
blocks were filled up to welcome them back, and they've needed that. They have flipping needed that, Milton Keynes, because they've had criticism, and some of it is justified, I think, with the players they've got, the team they've got over the years. But we've said it, this team just felt different. This MK team just felt different. The signing of Forsberg, I think, changed their season as well. As you said, Dan, I think he was the one they needed from the start. But fair play for bringing Forsberg in, and they finally got it done in terms of the big playoffs. They had a much better league season. They ran Leeds right up to that game where they played each other and Leeds pipped them. But they finally, as Charlie said, I haven't thought of it that way. They finally got one over Leeds. They haven't managed to get one over Leeds. I know they won the cup last year, but this is the big one, and they won the playoffs. And I think now, after they've enjoyed it and the summer, and they'll be looking at the league and saying, right, we need to win this league now. That's the next one for us. They found a way to beat Leeds to that playoff, and now the league is the one they want next season. And I think it's going to be so hard to try and stop them to do that. Charlie, anything else to add, and then I'll get to you, Dan.
Yeah, just cracking weekend from Lightning, and they just deserved it. They got over a hump, which I think is huge for them as a club. Celebrations, limbs. To be honest, I've avoided it on Twitter, Facebook. I've kind of just whenever I've seen an MK post, scroll, scroll. But they were good, man. They were good, and you know the pressure which was on them. You knew that they are the team um, which has that pressure on them and that expectation. And I think for them it was a relief and a joy that they finally did it. And yeah, congratulations. I know there's a lot of MK fans who listen to the podcast and think we're negative, but there are some genuine MK fans out there who I know, and I'm really happy. I messaged Scott and I just said, enjoy the celebrations. I said, I'm so annoyed you won. It's a love-hate relationship. Um, it's yeah, It's a great thing for that club, and I think this is some big confidence for them to go on for that league title next year. I think a winning mentality, as we've seen in Leeds, just breeds trophies. It
Yeah.
just like winning one cup wins you the next cup and the next cup. And when your players start to understand what it takes to win, they'll do it. And I think the next time they play Leeds, we're gonna go even more physical, and you've got to match us. And so it's gonna be good. It's gonna be entertaining, and I really hope Swindon can be a part of stuff like that because I can't lie. I had this sad feeling of kind of I'm not going to be watching as many games next year due to stuff I'll speak about in the future. But I just had this sad feeling where I was like, we haven't won a cup for a while, and I feel like this team could have. And I want to win cups. I want to see our team lift trophies. It's the funnest part of hockey. The celebrations are so much fun, and so I just wish we could have lifted some cups.
Yeah, we will. I've got trust in the team. We've had a much better season. Honestly, again, just thank you to everyone who come up to us, had some conversations, back at the hotel, at the rink, bumping into a few players as well. I won't talk about it, but we bumped into a few players and had really nice chats with them, players' families, everything. It was a really nice weekend. And I think when we go into it, we we don't want, if like Swindon lost, we didn't let that ruin our weekend. Yes, we were gutted about it, but it's still one of the best weekends. And I will say it again: if you're a little muppet who doesn't go because your team's not there, or only goes and then if your team gets knocked out, you don't go on the Sunday, you're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. Because you got to stay for the whole weekend. Anything else, Dan?
I just love ice hockey. This weekend felt different for me because of the news that I heard before it. I
Yeah.
was like, this weekend is just setting up what's to come, and I just had the feeling in the back of my head that I'm gonna have Basingstoke next year, and it's gonna be my last year of being a neutral. Um, but it's yeah, it's unreal. Like I love hockey. Um, credit to the crowd. Going back to the crowd again, like having those MK fans like that, it grows the sport. Like those imports going into that team, I don't think they've probably ever had it where they go back to their home rink after a Coventry weekend and you've got your crowd literally selling out the half of your rink. Like, I bet it's such a surreal feeling, and I think the players and the crowd can be proud of themselves because MK is a hard market to play, and like MK is a hard market to support, and it's a hard market to play, and because players have got eyes on them from everywhere, and fans. They've got high expectations of their team because of that, and they've got high expectations. They get judged for that, people judge MK everywhere they go, and yeah, they just got to be proud of themselves. They got it over the line, and they just supported their team all the way through it, and they showed it at the end.
Yeah, I agree. Fair play to them, man. That's all you can say. And I think it's the fact that they did play so well, and you almost got to respect it in the way that they played such good hockey. And I was they didn't I said it earlier, they didn't fall into any of those silly traps, which they could have easily done. So fair play to him. We didn't see a proper fight at Cov. We didn't get that
I thought
Salisbury
there was going to be
Palace
one.
fight. But Salisbury, I thought he threw the body a lot. There was one hit. I think it was James Griffin. Oh my days, he smoked Thorpe. He absolutely walloped him. Yeah, there was some massive hits. But yeah.
Chris Jones hit on Callum Douglas. Big up the Jones. Biggest I've ever seen him do.
Yeah, and fair play to the refs, actually. Quick one, fair play to the refs. I thought they actually let it go. You might disagree with some decisions. They're not gonna get everything right, but they actually let it go the playoff way, the playoff hockey. So yeah, a quick message for the off season then. So we like to just have we won't do a podcast every week. There might be one week and then maybe the week after. It depends the amount of news, the amount of signings which come out, which we can talk about. It also depends on the players we can get on. I'm gonna try and get I'm gonna message loads of players to see if they want to hop on throughout the off season. Obviously there'll be loads of signings as well, so we can talk through them. Some weeks Charlie might not be on, some weeks Dan might not be on. We'll have to see. We might get Ian on, we might get fans on, who knows? But we've got 4 months where we're not just going to go into hibernation. Please do follow all our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. We're 2 years into this podcast now, which is just crazy. We've done 2 full seasons. And bring on next season where Dan will finally be able to talk about the Bison on the pod. I don't think you've ever spoke about them like after a game.
No, never. Never done a Basingstoke game review. Never done a sign-in review. Never done a Bison team preview. Nothing done. Never done anything like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a new experience for all of us, I think.
Yeah, Charlie, anything else to add?
You're going to be stuck in Swindon's shadow. And
Swindon fans are gonna miss me more than ever.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can see Malas for another season. That's all I want.
I can't wait to get the Swindon Basingstoke derby
Oh
going
mate,
again.
we had a cracking derby.
Boxing Day derby games.
Oh yeah, we
unreal.
better see them boxing.
We had a cracking rivalry with Basingstoke. So I guess it's now a 3-way now battle. So it's the now Classico. The Classico.
We'll leave this in the comments. Should me, Charlie, and my dad and my mum let Dan stand with us when it's Swindon Basingstoke, or shall we make him stand in his away section? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you in the next episode where hopefully we'll have quite a few more sign-ins. And thank you again to James, and good luck for his testimonial on Saturday. Peace.